Still under caution here at the Chicagoland Speedway. 91 laps complete. Jeff Burton with a tire issue brought out the yellow. Matt Kenseth continues to lead. We check in with Marty.
And Bill, Carl Edwards debriefing with Jack Roush, and man, you didn't say a word on the radio about that tire. Did you have any indication something was going wrong?
No, I didn't. That's what I was just talking to Jack and my crew chief Bob Osborne about. And yesterday we had a couple right rears blister, and come apart a little bit, but we didn't have any failures. And I want to thank Goodyear for trying so hard. They're doing what we asked for. On MRN, I kind of threw them under the bus over there. I was mad when I came out of the infield care center, and my initial reaction was, hey, this tire is not the right one, but I don't know, man. We're trying to all be macho and say the tires are fine even when they're blistering, but the way it went down, I could have run over something. It could be the tires coming apart. Just very frustrating. I feel like we could win that race today with that car right there.
And he had just talked to us about the elevator that he's been on, and it's been a rough ride for Carl. Dave?
Now the 12 car is back in for a second time. They worked a little bit on the right side damage, which wasn't really a big deal. I believe they just sent him out and scuffed a set of tires because they said this set that we're putting on, Ryan, the set that we're taking off, we may just glue them back up, which means they'll put lug nuts back on them. And so I believe they were scuffing a set of tires. He's here now. They're going to check that damage one more time and send him back out.
Yeah, well, why not? He was last, when he came in to fix it.
So you take a new tire, put it on there, run it around for a lap.
What you do is you're kind of curing it. You put a heat cycle on it, and it's supposed to make the tires a little bit tougher. And that's what we call a scuff. You just put a heat cycle on it, rip them up a little, let them cure. Hopefully they're a little bit tougher when you put them back on.
We know a lot of you in the Southeast certainly keeping an eye on the weather, and our thoughts are with you and also with our friends at the Atlanta Motor Speedway and the property surrounding that track. The Atlanta Motor Speedway hit by a tornado earlier this week. Approximately $40 million in damage. They had a 150-person cleanup crew get out there and start the work, and Ed Clark and company say they will be ready to go when we get there in late October. So our thoughts are with you folks. There's a scoring pylon. That will tell you how strong that was. 150-mile-an-hour winds.
About a half-mile wide tornado went through that area on Tuesday night.
So our thoughts are with them and also with all of you in the Southeast, the Alabama, Florida area. We know how tough it is battling those things. We wish you our best. Kenseth continues to lead. Kyle Busch up to second. Jimmy Johnson, Brian Vickers, and Greg Biffle, the top five. Here are the results of our Singular Race Talk poll. Remember, you can still text RACE to 191 for a chance to win $1,031.
That's pretty even. They didn't give Kurt Busch much of a shot, but
well, I tell you what, they just dissed him, didn't they?
Yeah. And there's Jeff still sitting in his car as they work on it.
That's a terrible feeling, isn't it?
Yeah.
Dave?
Guys, the main thing they're working on are the brakes. There are many brakes there. That would be are the brakes.
Thank you, Dave. Pace car to pit road. Kenseth brings him around.
I think Kyle Busch is going to want that lead.
Ready, green flag, come on.
And I'll tell you what, the way that 5 car was running before this caution flag, I think he might get it.
I want to see how good the 48 is, too. But Kenseth trying to take off.
That's got a good restart. You got Stewart's back there in the 7th spot right now, too.
That's unbelievable. Tony Stewart has made it up that far already. After starting last at Orange Cart.
He's not done yet. That car looked good at the beginning of the race.
Matt, how about the guys up front? Alan, I'm sorry.
That's all right, Bill. We're all working hard down here for you. Matt Kenseth, during that last caution on the radio with Jack Roush, further discussing that fuel pressure problem. They think they have a solution and things will be just fine. I talked to crew chief Robbie Reiser. He said it's no problem. We've got plenty of fuel pressure. We're just trying to make sure we have everything good for the finish. As for Kyle Busch, I talked to his crew chief Alan Gustafson this morning. If you were to look at Kyle's race record this year, he's got 6 top 10s this season, but 4 in the last 7 races. I said, what light came on for this kid that taught him how to be a Nextel Cup driver? He said he's learned how to race at 9/10 instead of 10/10 all the time and use that other 10th when he needs it. You're seeing it in the results.
And I think Jimmy Johnson looks like at this point is racing at about 9/10. And trying to make sure that he has a car at the end of this race. Talking about the 48, Jimmy Johnson. He wants to be around at the end of this thing.
Yeah, we've kind of seen this, though, at the 48 car. He just doesn't get off to a very good start. You see, he's still dragging the bottom of that race car. So when he is getting the tire pressures back up, that car, after about 15 laps, goes back to the front.
Johnson is the championship leader. That's Harvick in the 29 inside of him, and there is Tony Stewart. Gonna try it on the inside.
Yes, he is. Matt, that 20 car is going somewhere, isn't he?
BP working his way to the front at a rapid pace. You can tell how well this team is performing by the level of comedy on the radio, and there has been a lot of it. Back on lap 70, Tony keyed the mic and says, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I had a bad lap there. And I said, yeah, you lost 4/10. He goes, well, I spilled my drink bottle on the floor, but I'm okay now. And then he also made a note. He says, look, when we come back here next year, let's make sure we have a blower for the feet. And it seems like every year when we come here, my feet get extra warm. And he said, the reason why we didn't put it this year, we wanted to take the pain away from your thoughts. That way you're not worried about how sore you are. But the car is tick on the tight side, but he is really running strong.
They won't give him a break, will they, Matt?
They sure won't, Bill, but this team really on a roll. Tony, 4 times career, he's won back-to-back races, but never in Nextel Cup has he pulled off the three-peat. He's trying to do that today.
And this is a backup car. Inside of Johnson.
48 car still hitting the racetrack, going into the corners. And that could cause a lot of problems down the road if it keeps doing that.
That's Tony Stewart to 5th, pushing the 48 of Johnson back to 6th. Harvick also fell back a little bit. Where's the 24 car?
25th spot.
Wow.
And, well, make that 26th spot, Bill.
Jason Leffler goes by. Dave.
Jeff radioed his crew before that last set of pit stops that the car stayed loose during the whole run. That rear end really wanted to swap around. But on the exit of the corner, it was actually getting a little bit better. They took a spring rubber out of the right rear tire, which will help that rear end swapping around, out of the right rear spring, actually. So that was a big adjustment they made, and they went down to the track bar as well. Remember, last time they made small adjustments, this time they went big, but they still got big problems.
Well, Jeff Gordon trying to get into the chase for the championship as they run right now. 13th in the championship standings, and I'm telling you, these drivers know almost exactly where they are all the time in the points race.
You got to run your own race and just run as hard as you can and get the best finish that you can. You know, obviously at the end of the day, when you start looking at points and maybe you're battling for a position at the end of the race, you might recognize your competitors around you and who you're battling with in points. But to be honest with you, I really don't even know who I'm racing in points right now. I just know that what we need to do is put consistent top 5s together. Top 10s would be even good right now for us, but I think top 5s, you know, is what we need to get ourselves solidly back in the top 10.
Well, if he's going to get a top 10 today, he's going to have to come from the 26th position right now. More on the 24, Dave.
Well, Bill, one more thing. You know, you look at a guy like Jimmy Johnson having a great run at the front of the pack today, his teammate Jeff Gordon having a lousy run, and say, you know, why couldn't the 24 get all the help they could from the 48? And it's because Jimmy and Jeff want different things in the cars to help drive them fast. And so I talked with crew chief Robbie Loomis at 24 this morning. He said we took some elements from Jimmy, but we can't take everything.
I'll tell you what, he better go down there and get some setups, because that car looks pretty bad right now in the corners. Jeff has got his hands full. That car is still very, very loose. He got real loose over in 3 and 4 that last time.
And that's David Strimmy, trying to close in and pass Jeff Gordon as we go back to the lead. Matt Kenseth.
Kenseth up front. There's the battle for second. Kyle Busch in the 5. And Brian Vickers right behind him. AB.
Yeah, Bill, let's talk about Kyle Busch. He came on his team radio just after that last restart and reported this.
We have the same fuel problems on the restart. Getting down into turn 1, especially, it starts gurgling, and then you get to about the center of 1 and it picks back up again. Oh, yeah.
So Kyle expressing some emotions. Now let me add this. I just talked to Jack Roush, who was up on the pit box with Robbie Reiser. We've been talking about Matt Kenseth and a fuel pressure problem. Jack told me it's probably related to the heat. This is a warm day, and it may be where when the fuel in the car starts to get away from the pickup a little bit, it's so warm out that the car's having trouble picking it up. BP, you could probably help us out a little bit technically on that, how the heat affects the fuel pressure and the fuel pickup.
I think that it's so hot under the hood that we talked about it yesterday in the NASCAR Busch Series race. I think that the fuel is actually boiling, and that's what's called a vapor lock. And when one of those air bubbles goes through the carburetor, it misses. The engine misses.
And the fuel, when it runs along the pipes and everything, there's no air going through it. And when you're under yellow, these cars are just like ovens. The heat just radiates in every direction, so you're not going fast to cool that stuff off. And you're exactly right, BP. It's cooking the fuel.
There's Dale Earnhardt Jr. currently runs in 10th. Now behind him is Mark Martin in 11th and Rusty Wallace in 12th. Those are 3 cars that have been on the move forward after the last round of pit stops. Earnhardt in the 8, Mark Martin in the 6, and behind him Rusty Wallace in the 2. How about Earnhardt Jr., Alan?
Yeah, Bill, a fantastic race for them so far. Remember, they started back in 25th position. I looked at the tires off the 8 car after that last pit stop. Some small blisters on the right rear tire. Crew Chief Steve Meal discussed that with his driver. Then under the caution before that last restart, Earnhardt Jr. talked about a vibration on his car, decided not to pit. He hasn't said another word about it, so he's continuing on and doing quite well. Dave?
Running right in front of Dale Earnhardt Jr. is Casey Mears, who started the day 3rd. I wonder what happened to him. Well, he got blocked in his pit stall during one of the caution periods and restarted 17th back in the pack. He's worked his way back up, and they made good adjustments on the car. In fact, they just made a slight air pressure adjustment on the last run, which means Casey's pretty happy with it.
Matt Kenseth up front, followed by Kyle Busch, Brian Vickers, Greg Biffle, and Tony Stewart. The NASCAR Nextel Cup season at the halfway mark. You're watching NBC Sports coverage of NASCAR. 116 laps complete in Chicagoland. We're still under the green. Here's what we've seen so far. A packed house of 75,000 on hand. Greg Biffle looking under Jimmy Johnson for the lead with Matt Kenseth helping out.
Those 2 cars have been strong all day, 16-17. There we see some teammate work going on. Biffle lets the 17 go by, get 5 bonus points.
That's right.
The first of the tire issue, Carl Edwards hard into the turn 4 wall.
His 2nd straight DNF. Then it was Jeff Burton.
Made some contact with the 42 car. Looks like it has blistered or punched a hole in the left rear, and when it came apart, so did a lot of the car.
Here is our Napa Field summary. 6 different leaders, 3 caution periods. Carl Edwards and Travis Kvapil out of the race. Caution on the track for Dave Blaney.
You want to take a guess?
What would your guess be?
Well, my guess is that he has a flat tire, but it
Right in front.
doesn't look like he doesn't have the damage that Carl Edwards had. Rodney Wise going to have to use some limit on his arm tonight. This keeps up.
Sometimes you can feel it coming, sometimes you can't.
Jeremy Mayfield said
Hard enough to go to the garage? Yes.
he wrecked here on Friday in his Busch car and said he felt it coming.
Yeah, you can feel it sometimes, but sometimes like a Carl's deal, it goes down just like that.
We'll pick it up, but it's already underway for Blaney.
Yeah,
already up there.
Well, you can see the tire marks there. Normally, when you see one tire mark going up to the wall, that's a tire going down. Well, that's because of the flat tire.
But I think that he felt it. Oh man, there's quite a bit of damage.
He felt it twice.
Yeah.
Once when it was going down, and once when it went in the wall.
Struggling to get it turned. Go behind the wall to the garage. And Matt Kenseth leads a parade to pit road. Matt, how about it?
Tony Stewart, fourth in line, took 114 laps to climb up to fourth, so the car is pretty close. He just needs some help on the forward bite. Needs it at the beginning of the run as the car gets already better and better as the run goes on, Marty.
Matt, great run for Brian Vickers, having a very solid day. The car's just a little bit loose in, a little bit tight in the center of the corner. He wanted a bottle of water and an ice bag and a quick stop for the 25 team, Alan.
Matt Kenseth, just a minor air pressure adjustment on this pit stop. 4 tires, he's back on his way and trying to race Brian Vickers down pit road, Dave.
Jimmy Johnson lost some spots on that last run, said, I'm not terrible, I'm just not getting into the track real well. They put some wedge in the right rear to try to help that car turn a little bit better.
Wow, look at Casey Mears jumped up 6 positions.
And we'll take a look at the race off of pit road.
Matt Kenseth, his team holds.
Not by much on Vickers.
Not much on, you're right.
Then Kyle Busch.
Stewart. There's Jimmy.
So Matt Kenseth gets on pit road first and off of pit road first. He leads at Chicagoland.